I think we should do this then.
All right. Hello, I'm Simon Mercer, and welcome to Crave. This is the podcast and the video cast dedicated to film, music, theatre, TV, Scrabble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything that's been entertaining me and Steve McCabe lately.
Now, this week we got The Return of the King. No, I can't take credit. That was actually your line, Simon. and it's a brilliant line.
It is.
Which is more than can be said.
Are you going to say that?
To be fair, for The Lion King itself. But we'll come to that shortly, yeah?
Yeah. And also about wild beasts.
Oh, yeah.
And also, technically very well done.
Right.
There's an alligator thriller.
Oh, dear.
Called Crawl.
Okay.
Snappy little movie.
Thought it might be.
And I've got something quite good to say about that.
Okay, fair enough. So, yet more CGI, as though we weren't overly, computer up already. Toy Story 4.
I was starting to lose count, actually.
Well, people kept on saying the Toy Story 3, they'd wrapped up this perfect trilogy. They're just like, that's it, it's done. Nothing else needs to be done. Like, don't even look at it any longer. It's perfect. And then they went to the fourth. Was it worth it? We shall find out.
Okay, and we'll finish with some music. Still in the world of film, but
yes,
a musical film to cleanse our palate.
Oh yes.
And how better could you do it than with the Beatles?
Indeed.
A film called Yesterday, which you, I think, would be fair to say, thought was a cracker.
Yes. But
I didn't.
Yeah, but that's because I'm not as cold-hearted as you. Clearly are. There is a heart of ice beats in that chest. That's what I can tell you. Oh, it's fantastic. Anyway, we'll save that for later.
We shall.
Because to begin with, right?
Yeah.
To begin with, we need to have a quick talk about The Lion King.
Yeah.
And there is a fundamental question to be asked.
I know. Yes, go on.
Go on. What's the question?
Why?
Exactly. Yeah. And we know exactly what the reason is. Actually, we know there's about tens, possibly hundreds of millions of reasons, but beyond that. So there's not even any point doing the sort of the plot synopsis.
No, it's the same story.
It's almost shot for shot the same film, except it's half an hour longer.
Yeah.
It's stunning
To look at?
Yes,
it is. It's technically a stupendous piece of digitalization, if that's the word, of the landscape and the animals. I mean, really, it is quite a wonder to look at. I saw it in a 2D version.
Yeah, me too.
And I thought that was still pretty damn good.
I would imagine like IMAX or 3D or God forbid both would have you questioning everything you think you know about reality.
Yes,
it is technically utterly perfect.
Yeah.
The lion's manes, the texture of the trees, everything about it is utterly stunning.
Mm-hmm. But
that's it. I mean, that's it. That's all I have to say about it. There's nothing else to say because as a film, that's its problem.
Yeah. So let's just quickly go through some aspects. I remember I didn't go back and watch the 1994. I think it was 94 film.
It is because it's 25 years ago.
Yes, but I have fond memories of it. Of course you do, yeah. And I thought it had a snappiness to it. It was jaunty. It had some snappy humour. Had some menace. Some good voice actors.
Yep.
Jeremy Irons as Scar. Rowan Atkinson was Zazu. I mean, it was full of character. It was full of life.
Yep.
This film is slow, as you rightly point out. It's longer. It takes its time more, and I've got some thoughts on that. I don't think the voice actors progress it in any way. In fact, mostly I think they fall behind the first lot. And I thought the music was not as memorable as the first one, to be honest with you. I didn't think.
Considering it's the same songs.
Yeah, the same song. They've been reimagined a little bit and reinterpreted. I don't. It didn't make my heart sing by any means.
No. And I think I know why not.
Okay.
Right? Here's the basic problem. It is, as we said, perfect. So when you got lions on screen, you genuinely can believe that they've actually got lions on screen.
Yeah.
Right? What's one thing that lions can't do?
Talk.
Exactly. Another thing that lions, not uniquely among all animals except humans, can't do is show emotion with their faces. And so it's like you've got a film where the entire cast has been Botoxed.
That is actually a very good point. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And so
it removes an element of interpretation from the actors, doesn't it?
It removes a massive part of what we understand as how actors deliver emotion. And it becomes effectively a radio play. Okay,
that's interesting.
For the people watching the video, this will make sense. If you're watching the podcast, you won't get the point of this quite so much. But it's like when you're absolutely terrified and all you can do is look like this, and then when you're also absolutely overjoyed and all you can do is look like this.
Steve's being stony-faced.
Yeah. Because you've got no expression, no emotion in your face at all. None.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very good point. And of course, when it was a cartoon, they could express as much as they wanted.
I mean, close your eyes and you can imagine Simba as a little lion cub with a great big beaming smile, because that's how cartoon animation works.
Okay, I think that's a really good observation. I had another thought, which I put in my review on our website, cravepodcast.com.
That's cravepodcast.com. Yeah.
Because I, as you said, it takes longer.
Yeah.
And there are, deliberately so.
Yeah.
And there's this long sequence near the beginning of a little rat or mouse scurrying across some landscape. It takes forever. And there are other sequences like that where the filmmakers look as if they've said to themselves, we've got this wonderful technology. We can show the detail and the wonder of nature.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Yes.
And I had this feeling part of the way through as if the idea of The Lion King about the circle of life and and honouring the circle of life and looking after the next generation, looking after the environment, that this film, using the technology, almost felt like a piece of wonderful conservationist propaganda.
Okay.
Because how many of us and of the kids of today watching that film, the new one I'm talking about, will ever see a landscape like that?
Probably never.
Never. And the kids watching it today might grow up and say, hey, mum, dad, grandma, granddad, what happened to that world we saw in The Lion King? How come it's not around anymore?
That's an interesting point.
So I just kind of wondered if there was a sort of agenda of showing the beauty of it all, as if to say it's probably gone, folks, but maybe it's not too late if we all pull together.
Another way of reading it is, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this technology.
Oh, yeah.
We're bloody well going to
there's that
take
as well.
advantage of it. Yeah. And so what ends up happening at the end of it is there's no soul to it.
I think that's right. And I think, I agree with that. And the thing is, Steve, I was because Steve and I had a little conversation, and you were more scathing than I was.
A little bit, yeah.
And that's fine. And I was wondering why that was the case, and I thought, you know what?
What?
Maybe it's because my expectations were quite low.
Ah, okay.
Because I'm not a particular fan of remakes usually. Remakes, it just raises that question, why are they doing it? Are they just doing it to make money? I mean, what else? Well,
if you look at the other remakes that they've been doing, it's all been live action remakes. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, which is possibly the best. Dumbo, yeah. Dumbo's kind of starting on a progression toward next you get to where you got like mostly human, mostly live action humans with one central animated character. Then you get the Jungle Book, which is the way around. It's one live action human and an entire plethora of remarkably well voiced but ultimately animated animals. And now, let's face it, there isn't a single actual physical thing anywhere in The Lion King. It's an animation. It's not a live action.
No, it's not.
It really, I mean, it bloody well looks like
it
one.
Does.
It is. I mean, Lord, it looks like one.
Yeah, it does. So, I mean, I think you put your finger out when you talked about the soul, the lack of soul, something about this digital representation, as wonderful and detailed as it is, you know it's not real. Yeah. And somehow that robs it of something.
It does. It does. But at the same time, you wonder, like, they've obviously had to make a sacrifice because you can't have the lips moving on an actual lion, and these are meant to be actual lions. And let's face it, to all intents and purposes, they are actual lions.
Yeah.
But an actual lion doesn't have lips that move when it speaks. And so if you want to go down that path, you have to accept the fact that you can't get a large element of what we understand of as how a film conveys its emotion and its energy.
So it doesn't soar at all in terms of humour and a crackle to it.
No,
and
not
spark. Quite. I saw it, I think you did too, Steve. I saw it in a pretty full cinema. I think it was a Friday night and there were a lot of young kids around.
It was a late Sunday, it was a Sunday tea time, and I got into the pictures and the sign said, Lion King, sold out.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a packed auditorium.
And what was the reaction like where you were?
by the time it was halfway through, some of the younger kids were getting taken out by Mummy. And it was overall, it was, you could hear mumbles of voices, which isn't always a good sign. Yeah. And it wasn't until Timon and Pumbaa came on, and there was a couple of fart jokes, that you kind of got the little kids back on side again.
Yes, that's true.
Because think about it, right? Without the charm, without the joy, you've still got all the darkness. Yeah. You've still got the elephant's graveyard.
Yeah.
Heavy on the carcass. Yeah. That's a little bit grim.
The stampede is pretty grim.
The hyenas.
The hyenas are much darker, I think, in this version than in the original. Much darker.
Well, they're nasty creatures, hyenas, and so if you're going to be authentic, you've got nasty hyenas.
Yeah, I agree. I think the audience. I didn't think I got a sense in the screening I saw that it was a bit of a mixed reaction.
I don't really know who it was aimed at, because for an awful lot of the philosophizing between live action animals about the circle of life is going to be lost for a large part on small kids who are supposedly the target audience, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, can we go back though to the voice casting?
Yes.
The voice acting.
Okay. Yep.
So we've kept James Earl Jones. Yeah. Possibly the most magnificent voice in the known universe.
Yes.
As Mufasa.
Yeah.
But we've got Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar.
Yeah.
Now, do you think he got the Scar or the name first?
Scar first, didn't he?
Well, then we got the scarf. What was his name before he got the scarf?
I don't know.
I didn't. One does wonder. Anyway, you got Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar, and I mean the man's a phenomenal actor. Let's be fair about this, but he wasn't evil enough.
No, I thought that too. He was. It was finely delivered, but if you had in the back of your mind the memory of Jeremy Irons, who was more maleficent, is that the right word?
Absolutely.
It didn't quite match up.
No,
for some reason. And I thought Beyonce as Nala was a little flat, to be honest with you. Perfunctory, that's a good word.
Because again, she's not an actress. She's a very, very good singer.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And what did you think of Mr. Glover as Simba?
Again, unremarkable. Yeah. And again, part of the problem is, and this is especially true I think of Simba, of Scar.
Yeah.
You take away the faces. You take away the ability to.
Yeah.
To scowl and to glower, and this is what a good actor. And let's face it, Chiwetel Ejiofor, good actor.
Yeah,
this is what they need to be able to do. And when he's had that taken away from him, he's acting with one hand or one paw behind his back.
Yes. And I was interested to see how John Oliver, the British comic writer, who is very well known for That Was the Week. No, not the week that was. That was
the Last Week Tonight.
Last Week Tonight, which I think is very clever. And he, I started off at the beginning of the film. I wasn't taken by him. As the film progressed, I slowly got used to his interpretation. I quite enjoyed it by the end.
You were just troubled when he came on at the beginning and said, "Here's morning report."
Yeah, that's right.
And that just didn't sit well with you, did it?
No. Yeah, and they really needed to have Timon and Pumbaa pull some laughter out of the fire, so to speak, because the film needed it. Seth Rogen was all right.
Adequate.
I remember Nathan Lane from the original as being a really great character actor. Yeah. So not awful, but not great.
No, and so I think, to be perfectly honest, right, you remember what we said about Aladdin? Because let's face it, they're banging these out of the crazy rate. Yeah. We can barely keep up with them. No. But Aladdin, we were saying at the end of that, if you've got a child who hasn't seen either, show them the new one first.
Yes.
I think the same has to be said here.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you're familiar with and you have affection for the 94 original, then this is going to be found wanting, I think. So did we feel the love tonight?
No, but I would say, because it is amazing to look at it. It's kind of worth seeing, just to see where the technology is at these days. If you can sort of, I mean, you wonder what's next in terms of the way they'll
no, you're right.
be able to render reality.
At once the film's greatest asset.
Yes, but also
its single, biggest flaw, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're not feeling the love tonight.
No.
Incidentally, did you notice they sang that song during the daytime?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You see, ultimately, not a film you engage with.
No. I'm trying to think of anything that... There are a couple of dramatic battle scenes near the end. The fight scenes the director did quite a good job with. That's Jon Favreau, but it's not going to stay with me for a long time.
No.
Anyway, Steve, she's doing my masterful segue.
Absolutely.
Will another film stay with me? Also a film that's designed for a younger audience, and this is another installment in the Toy Story franchise, which began way back in 1995.
Yes.
And I think I've seen all of the previous three, but I have not seen number 4. Should I or should I not?
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, you saw the first ones because you're a parent.
Correct.
And there was an absolute inevitability to seeing them as a result, right? And so, I mean, it's a Toy Story. Mm-hmm. And so you've already seen it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a very real sense. I'm being a bit unfair here, to be honest, because you've got this fundamentally similar setup. You've got Woody, you've got Buzz, you've got the characters that you expect. You've got Bonnie. It was Bonnie, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, the cowgirl.
Yeah.
No, I thought like Bonnie. What am I talking about? Bonnie is in fact the new child.
Oh, okay.
Because they're trying to stay sort of chronological with this, and so Andy, who owned all the toys, has gone off to college now.
Goodness.
He's left home.
Yep.
But the parents have got a new kid, which is a little bit awkward. And her name is Bonnie.
Okay.
And she goes off to kindergarten, and she leaves the toys at home. Well, she actually fetches one or two along. She's like that, you see. It's very, 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 very rebellious, very anarchic, this film. So she fetches them. But what she does on her first day at kindergarten is she does a little bit of arts and crafts, and she makes a toy. Which she got a little plastic spork,
right? And
she glues on some pipe cleaners and some googly eyes and 2 ends of lolly stick for feet, and she's got a toy and she calls it Forky.
Okay.
So on one level, you've got an existential treatise on what it means to be a toy, because obviously once she brings the toy home, it's animated. Because it is her toy, and and obviously the shop bought toys all walk and talk, but suddenly so does Forky, because Forky is her toy. But Forky, and they don't overdo this, but in the same way that that Buzz in the very, very first film can't believe he's a toy, he insists that he's actually
right. Yes, yeah.
Buzz Lightyear to infinity and beyond. Forky wants to get in the bin. Because he's trash. He keeps saying, I'm trash. No, you're not trash, you're a toy. But then they have to do something with it. And this is where it starts to get really, really interesting. They go off on a road trip. They get into their big RV, like the Americans do, right? Yes. They go off and they find themselves, through plot machinations, not even an attempt to reconstruct, in a very, very creepy antique shop. Because let's face it, there is something inherently creepy about antique shops, right? Mm-hmm. And there is a doll voiced by Christina Hendricks called Gabby Gabby.
Okay.
Who's ironically doesn't have a functioning voice box like Woody does. The drawstring, and when you release it,
yeah.
So she's got all the gubbins inside, but the voice box itself doesn't work, and so she's got henchmen, and they're called Vincent. There are several called Vincent. I'm trying to find the voice actor name, and I can't find the name right now. But basically, they look like a very, very creepy ventriloquist doll.
Okay.
And seriously, they are. Even at my age, I was wondering, am I going to sleep well tonight? they were really well done.
Oh, well, that's good.
And so you can imagine where it progresses from there.
Yes.
How variously Woody and Forky and all the rest have to get rescued by each other, and the thing is, right, there's obviously there is no attempt for the film to be photorealistic, because it's toys talking, and so Woody's mouth does actually move, unlike say lions, and yet, because obviously it's from the same technological era as Lion King, the backgrounds are phenomenal.
Okay.
It is an incredible piece of animation, but it supports a story that's told really, really nicely.
Yeah.
And it's told with, it's got Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah.
Do I really need to say much more than that? Yeah. There is so much warmth in the moment the man opens his mouth, you're going, yeah, life's fine. We're good. Yeah. Right? And so when you got that level of warmth, then suddenly the technological brilliances simply support that.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So...
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Because I haven't seen it, but my 7-year-old grandson has.
Oh, yeah.
And the report I had back...
Go on.
Was
and
that...
then let's face it, this is the one that matters, not mine. This is the target audience.
Was that there... And I don't want you to divulge too much for fear of spoiling it, but apparently at the ending, there was a little sequence or an unfolding of the story which a 7-year-old found a little bit upsetting and a bit sad, to do with where the allegiance of Andy went...
Yes. Well, it's a long time since I've seen Toy Story 3, so I don't remember the details, but I do remember a lot of people have said that at the end of number 3, it's a bit tear-jerky.
Right, well, okay.
And so I can see how it sort of ties into that.
Okay.
Because you can't keep making the same film.
No.
It has to progress.
Yes.
And again, we don't want to give too much away, but you can't simply have all the toys going back into the same toy box every night and having the same adventures the next day.
Yeah.
So there is. This is the thing about a film like Toy Story, and this is Pixar through and through. They make intelligent films for children. There's not many people do that and do it well.
No. But
Pixar do it consistently. They're children's films, but they are so well made that grown-ups who take their kids can enjoy them instead of just sitting through them without having to throw in fart gags for the parents. They are intelligent films for children, and part of that is slightly challenging emotionally.
Okay.
Well, and I'd say they did it quite nicely.
Okay, cool. Very good. So, actually, on the basis of that, maybe I might go see Toy Story 4.
Go and see Toy Story 4. Now, Simon.
Yes.
I know you love a good thriller, don't you?
I don't mind a good thriller.
Yep. And you've seen one, you said kind of snappy?
Yeah. Well,
it had a bit of bite to it.
It did, yes. Let's keep those.
It had teeth.
It did.
Was it fairly thick-skinned as well?
It was all the above. Yes,
absolutely. So this is Crawl, isn't it?
It's Crawl. Yeah.
Go on.
It's set in Florida.
Yep.
During a hurricane.
Right.
And basically, this massive hurricane floods a neighborhood where a father and daughter end up trapped in their house, which is full of alligators.
Excellent. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes. And I actually thought this was pretty good, actually.
Okay, because the setup, I have to tell you,
the
setup sounds rubbish.
Well, maybe it is. But I was thinking about when I saw this film, because there have been so many of films in and around this type of, we go to Jaws and all the other shark movies, snake movies, spider movies, I don't know, everything. I mean, we're full of snakes on planes and everywhere else. So what this has got going for it, I'll tell you, is it doesn't, I think the action is presented in as realistic a way as it could be, almost. Of course, it stretches in credulity, but it has a grittiness to it.
Yeah.
The script is not full of corny lines. I always remember this. I can't remember the name of the film, but Arnold Schwarzenegger did a film where he dispatched an alligator and said, "Your luggage." So So
it doesn't sink to those depths.
It's a far cry from that.
Okay, that's good.
The actors are normal-looking people.
Ooh.
The lead actor her name is Kaya Scodelario. She plays Haley, and the father is played by Barry Pepper.
Yeah, I look at the cast list here, and not only do I not recognise any of these names, half of them I can't even pronounce.
Yeah, so, and I think the Kaya, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, does a really good job. She's a young woman who's she just looks like a normal person. I know what I mean by that is they haven't dressed her up to look as if she stepped out of a fashion magazine.
Right, yeah.
Just like a fit young person who's just caught up and he's a good swimmer, which is important to the story.
Well, it would be, yes.
Yes. So, and the director, Alexander Aya, I think it is, or Aja,
Again, these are not easy names to pronounce, are they?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the usual thing of, you don't want to show too much of the animal for as long as you can.
Yes.
Typical underwater scenes, swimming. It's got a bit of a gritty edge to it that makes it work. It's not too corny. There's not too much humour in it.
Okay.
As a lot of these films can sometimes have.
Well, some of them try to have humour in them. And as you say with the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, it doesn't always work, does it?
There's a bit of a backstory which gives us a something to hang our hat on for the human characters.
Yeah.
The father and daughter have had an estranged relationship. They're kind of trying to patch it up. And I liked the fact that the ending, although it's dramatic and you might say a little far-fetched, it's below some of the ridiculous endings to some other of these sorts of thrillers where you think, come on.
Seriously? Yeah.
And it brought to mind another film which I thought, for most of its journey, was a really good thriller. It had that American actress called Blake Lively.
Oh, yeah.
Who I think she's a good actress.
She's very, very
We
good.
liked her in that black comedy.
Oh, yes.
Anyway.
Yes, that one, yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to look it up now.
Go on.
Me otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, so she was very good in a film called The Shallows.
Yes.
And that was a shark thriller.
Yes, I remember that.
And I thought the film was genuinely gripping and it was scary, but the final denouement, the final coup de grace of knocking off the shark was this really implausible stunt that she worked out of diving down to the bottom and releasing some sort of cable and just as the shark. I mean, I thought it was a shame because for the rest of the movie it had this air of reality about it. But Anyway, this film...
By the way, A Simple Favour.
Simple Favour, that was it.
Anna Kendrick.
Yes, Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this film, I don't think it quite goes to that level. And so it felt a bit scary. And I went afterwards and did a bit of research into the behaviour of alligators.
Oh, right. Well,
because one wonders what you see depicted. Is it how... So apparently alligators will indeed grab you, but they may let you go a little bit to get a better hold. And so the advice is, if that happens, you kick and you yell and you poke them in the eye. And if
you don't want to offend them.
No, you do for that moment. That's your only chance. And they do react to movement in the water. So if you are in the water and you stay still, your chances are not guaranteed, but you've got a better chance of surviving if you thrash about and run and make a big hoopla.
I mean, to be fair, you could just come and ask me about this.
Yeah, because you lived in Florida.
I was indeed a father with a daughter during hurricane season in Florida for 8 years.
Okay,
and well, I mean, seriously, we would actually see alligators on the street.
Right.
I mean, proper, dirty, great big things. And there's one time we were driving home from friend's house after dinner. I was coming through a neighbourhood, and you come around a bend in the road, and you could see lights flashing. Patrol car type lights flashing around the bend, and so we came round, and there was the wildlife patrol people. I can't remember what they call themselves now, because alligators in Florida are in fact endangered.
Okay,
they're protected.
Right.
So unless you are actively being attacked, you can't shoot them. Which, this being America, remember, shooting things is what they do for sport, right? So if there's like a live alligator on your property, and we had friends who did in fact have live alligators on their property, you have to call trappers.
Okay.
Unless you are doing it in actual self-defense, you can't actually harm them. And so this alligator was probably snout to tail 5 meters.
Whoa.
Give or take. Yeah, proper full-grown alligator on the pavement on the side of the road, just hanging out. Alligating. That's what alligators do. Is that they alligate. They alligate, and he was alligating away at the side of the road. And trappers are coming. I mean, they've got the I don't know exactly how they do it, but they obviously managed to somehow tape up the snout, and they're just calmly going at the business, trapping a 15-foot alligator.
Wow.
That's what you see there.
Yeah,
we had friends who had a swimming pool at the bottom of their garden, and at the end of that there was a fence, and beyond the fence there was a retention pond. And then woods. And the rule that they followed was, we can see the bottom of our swimming pool, so we're safe. You can't see the bottom of the retention pond, so you have to assume there are alligators in it. And eventually they realised they had to have the fence rebuilt, and the fence actually dug into the ground, because alligators will be able to underneath it. Yeah, seriously, it is
Well, actually,
it is real.
I think you probably might get a bit of a thrill out of this film.
I think
you actually probably would.
I think it might actually strike close to home for me a little bit.
And just as one example of the script, because I jotted this. Well, instead of like as I say, like some corny payoff line that's so pre-scripted. At one point, our heroine is confronted, and they slip around. The alligators slip around in a corner that they weren't meant to, and she just said, "You've got to be effing kidding me."
Yeah, which is the most human and
the most human thing to say.
I think that's what I'd be saying. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I'd say that.
Yes, so you probably would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So I think I'd give this. This is a thriller, right? It's not to be taken too seriously, but of its type, if it's still on, and you want an antidote to The Lion King, yes. Go see Crawl.
Cool. That's not what I was expecting to hear from you at all. I was ready for you just to tell me what a complete pile of poo it was.
Yeah, I think, as I say, as you said at the very beginning, I don't mind a decent thriller.
Right.
I'm quite happy to be, be on the edge of my seat, and I thought it did a decent job.
So I mean, I know we're kind of being a bit hair-splitty here. Is it a thriller? Is it horror? Does it go for gore or suspense?
More suspense.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's some gore, but not huge amounts of gore.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
you might have taught me into that one, I think.
Yeah. Well, especially given your experience in Florida.
Oh yes.
Mind you, can I just say the film was entirely made in Serbia.
Oh,
why they had to go to Serbia to make a film set in Florida, I don't know. But anyway,
well, I mean that's more your territory than mine. Obviously.
I know.
Is Serbia known for
its
alligators?
I don't. Not that I'm aware of. No.
But that would explain. I mean, where are we looking here?
Yes.
I'm just looking at the cast list.
Yeah.
No, that's Blake Lively. We'll go back past it. Yeah. I can't believe we forgot A Simple Favour. That was such a good film.
Yeah.
But it would explain
yes.
why you've got people like young Haley, played by Tina Pribicevic.
Yeah, that would explain
it. And
yes.
Louis, played by someone who's not got enough vowels in his name. Srena Vasilievich. So yeah, clearly.
There you are. There's the proof.
That would explain.
Yes, it will.
I mean, seriously, SR. That guy needs at least one more vowel in his name. At least one more. Anyway.
All right. So we should finish now with a film we've both seen.
Yes, and probably the high point of the week. He says provocatively.
Yeah. Well, this was a film we didn't see eye to eye on this. I'm really looking forward to your explanation, Steve. This is the film Yesterday.
Yes.
It's a romantic comedy.
Yes.
It's a story about the Beatles.
Yes.
And what made it sing for you? Excuse the pun.
Richard Curtis.
Okay.
I think it's as simple as that. So the obligatory plot synopsis with no spoilers involved, because this is all in the trailer.
Yeah. Okay.
Is you've got this bizarre premise.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally bizarre.
That the world experiences a global power cut for 3 seconds, and Jack, played by Himesh Patel, gets knocked off his bike by a bus. When he comes round, the world is totally normal. Nothing has changed whatsoever. Everything is the same. Except when, because we forgot to mention Jack's an up-and-coming singer.
Yes.
He's sitting around with his mates. They've bought him a new guitar to replace one that got knocked off by the others. They say, sing us a song. And he starts to sing Yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And all his mates go, mate, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you write that?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that he's the only person in the world who has any knowledge, even Google has no knowledge, of the Beatles.
Yep.
And so he then starts writing Beatles songs. And there's wonderful scenes where he's frantically trying to remember as many Beatles songs as he can, and you're sitting there watching it going, oh yeah, don't forget when I'm 64, mate. And he's pulling out films that you've forgotten, and it's lovely. You've got Lily James as his is she isn't she girlfriend Ellie, playing exactly the kind of role that she needs to be playing. She's not Meryl Streep. This is the kind of role that she does really, really well. So you've got a fantastic pair of leads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got, I mean, what's his name? Sanjeev Bhaskar and Meera Syal as his parents, who keep interrupting him when he's when he's trying to demonstrate to them for the first time ever a song that they want to call "Leave It Be."
That's right. And rather than "Hey Jude,"
yes,
"Hey Dude."
Yes, exactly. Because you got Ed Sheeran in it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, the setup is nonsense. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely absurd. but you don't care because it's so well done. Richard Curtis can do this stuff in his sleep. Danny Boyle directing it knows exactly how to make a film flow. You put the two of them together, you've got great acting talent. It was lovely. When I wasn't laughing, I was smiling or singing.
Okay, I'm being very patient.
Because I'm waiting for the moment where you say, and that's all we have time for tonight. Because you're going to tell me why you think I'm wrong, aren't you?
Yeah.
Go on.
I think the performances were engaging. It's the Beatles' music. The music is great, and I thought the sort of the modern reinterpretation of some of the songs was good.
Yeah.
And Himesh Patel can sing.
Yeah.
He's got a good voice. But I come back to the point you made about the premise, and all these sorts of films, whatever they are, they rely on their success for you and the audience to not either to buy the huge leap of logic that you're invited to make, and not care about it, because it doesn't matter, because you're enjoying the story so much. The fact that it's impossible, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And so if it pulls that off, you have a wonderful time. If it doesn't pull it off, you don't have such a wonderful time.
Right, and I'm taking from what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and
off was not pulled.
No, off was not pulled. Can we say that?
I just did.
So, and it sounds like I'm being cynical and jaded and a bit pedantic, and maybe I am, but I just didn't quite buy the idea of what was going on, and I partly it was because when it first happened, I thought, and we started to see the story unfold about him discovering the Beatles. And all this fame and fortune that came his way, I thought, oh, this is one of those films where it's actually a dream or a nightmare. He's going to wake up.
Right.
So I had that thought for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then I realised, oh no, that's not. It actually is. We are actually being asked to believe it has actually happened.
Yes.
And then it's just that I felt the lead character, Jack.
Yeah.
His character was put in the way the story was developed, as a story about the Beatles, but also as a romantic comedy, in a very difficult position.
Yeah,
this is how I started to see it unfold for me. I thought, on the one hand, Jack is we have to say at the beginning, is presented as a genuine, hard-working, honest, decent bloke.
Oh yeah,
right.
Well, salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth.
Absolutely.
He, through this miracle, can plagiarize his way to fame and fortune, right? So he is presented with a certain moral dilemma there in the story. And you see him grapple with it a little bit.
Oh, very definitely, yes.
At the same time as he is starting to realise that, and as the film develops, that this friend that the character Ellie has been, could be more than that. And as the story develops, there's this sort of push and pull between, do I go with the Beatles fame or do I go with Ellie? Yeah. And I found that, I just wasn't getting that.
Except, this is Richard Curtis. It's what he does best.
I know.
He can't help himself.
Yeah.
But he does it well.
Can I just make a mention of one of the actors who I have, and I think you did too, panned in a previous performance.
Oh, yeah?
The American actress Kate McKinnon.
Oh, yeah.
Who plays the manager.
Yeah, Deborah.
I thought she was really good in this film.
Yeah, and I think she thought she was in a different film.
Maybe, but it just seemed to work for me because it...
She did, yeah. She just basically said, right, that's it. This is the role I'm playing. I don't care what else is going on in the film. I'm doing this, and I'm just going to make it work. I thought she was quite good, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, I think what happens is if you start to have that little nagging doubt in the back of your mind as a story like this unfolds, it kind of it just distracts you a little bit, and I just got distracted.
Yeah, and so you're totally okay with the idea of, say, I don't know, Chris Hemsworth as a Norse god. That doesn't bother you in the slightest.
It's a very subjective thing.
Clearly. I can see, and the thing is, one thing I thought that was actually quite clever is they set up the premise very explicitly in the trailers.
Okay.
So that before you go into the film, you kind of self-selected a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So that someone like yourself who's going to go, what a pile of bollocks, isn't going to waste his $15 on a ticket.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like me who goes, oh wow, that looks like really good fun.
Yeah.
We'll go in knowing, ready for it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be many people who go to this going, really?
I know what the thought I had was. It was like, if you're going to do a romantic comedy about a couple who are sort of really should be together, to come up with the idea of this story is such a it's such a huge leap in a story to come up with this idea to sell a romantic comedy. It's almost like that idea could be told in a totally different context.
Yeah. But
in a way,
again, Richard Curtis.
Yeah, I guess.
And he can't help himself. And he's tried to put a will they, won't they couple together in so many different ways. He's not got much left to work with.
Okay, all right.
But what I will say, look, I mean, the bottom line for me was that it worked, but it also worked because of the performances. Like I say, I think Himesh Patel's fantastic. I think even the incidentals, like for example, Sanjeev Bhaskar, who in that one scene keeps interrupting his son when he's trying to premiere Let It Be, and his dad keeps interrupting. It's such beautifully observed scenes.
I agree.
There's another scene which obviously echoes the Beatles' last ever performance. It's the first time that he performs the Beatles songs on stage, and he's on the roof of the country, the beach pub in Lowestoft, and he plays Help, and you forget sometimes, and one of the best times you ever see it is at the very end of what was the name of it? There's a film about the Beatles with Pete Best. And it's set. I can't remember I should have looked this up. The name of the film.
Okay.
And it's set basically in the Cavern Club and then in Hamburg, really, really early on. And at the end of it, you get this close up of the actor playing John Lennon, unleashing himself into Twist and Shout, and screaming into the microphone. And you remember that's who the Beatles really were, not just the long and winding road and all that kind of stuff. The Beatles had a lot more venom and energy than we often remember.
Yeah.
And he channels that in that one scene at the end of it when he's playing Help not as a song but as a literal cry.
Yeah, he is.
And at the very end, when he screams into the microphone, "Won't someone please help me?" I'm thinking, my God, this is an amazing performance.
I agree with that. Up to that point, I wasn't buying the dilemma how he could, once he realised he felt something for Ellie, how he could still put her to one side and carry on with his immoral plagiarising of the Beatles. I just wasn't buying that.
Yeah, because that's something I'd have liked to actually see him to explore more, is given that he lives in a world where the Beatles had never really been a thing, ultimately they were a figment of his imagination. So was he really plagiarising, or was he in fact...
Yes, he was. Because
he believed he was.
No, because...
Are you getting to spoiler territory here?
I'm just going to say,
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, because let's just say there might be a reason why he can believe that... how do we say this without spoiling it? Oh, it's been out for a little while. Yeah. but maybe he was... sorry, I'm pausing because I don't want to give it away. But there is a part of the story which deals with how unique a position Jack might be as the only person to have remembered.
Delicately done. Delicately
so,
done.
Anyway, look, I think that it is subjective. There's a lot of enjoyment and entertainment to be had in the film.
Yes.
If you buy the premise, you're going to have a great time.
Oh, most definitely.
If you don't, and I didn't...
I can see how that would...
It did distract me.
Yeah,
let's just put it like that.
Such a shame.
It is a shame, but never mind.
Yeah, I have to. I thought it was brilliant, and I'll probably go and see it again.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. So nice that we finished with a movie that deals with music legends.
Yes,
because we can just move along to our announcements that you so diligently put on our website, cravepodcast.com. Steve, much that's coming up in the next little while?
There's a small number.
Yep.
Small number. A surprising little sprinkling.
Surprising little sprinkling,
well,
okay.
I mean, we'll start off with some local music.
Yeah.
Sons of Zion.
Okay.
Kiwi band. Mm-hmm. They're going to be up and down the country, New Plymouth, Christchurch, Tauranga, Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, and Queenstown.
Right.
The only one that really matters, obviously, is Auckland. August the 10th is a Saturday at the Power Station, but the other dates are also at the website cravepodcast.com. Postmodern Jukebox, are you familiar?
Familiar with the name, not so familiar with the music. I'd be lying if I said I was.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
This is basically a bloke named Scott Bradley, who has his shtick is he does kind of pastiches of of recent songs, of recent hits. He does them in sort of like 1920s to 40s jazz arrangements.
Right.
And he's got a touring, sort of revolving touring band doing the rounds. And they love New Zealand.
Well,
as you would.
Yeah.
So they're actually doing they're doing about one a year, extensive Anzac tour.
Okay.
So they're doing about a dozen dates over on the West Island, and then they're coming over here and they're doing this is an American band in Auckland, Hamilton, Napier, Palmerston North. I'll let that sink in for a second. Wellington, Christchurch, and Dunedin. That's not a bad go for an American band. That's pretty good. And that's going to be they're starting in Tauranga on Friday the 11th of October. We've got Stan Walker.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, who gets around. We've got quite an extensive tour coming up there as well. It's a 9-day national tour.
Okay.
He's going to be hitting all the major New Zealand centres. Again, the dates are on the website, cravepodcast.com. The FOMO Festival. New one.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the FOMO Festival.
No, this is kind of a new one.
Yeah.
It's going to be Wednesday the 15th of January at the Trusts Arena in Auckland. Mellow Downs are the Kiwi representatives. The big name is the American singer Lizzo, who... fantastic soul singer from America.
Okay.
You got Brockhampton from the US. You got Kay Tranada from Canada. You got Octavian from the US. That's going to be a fairly impressive lineup.
Okay.
But then the big one.
Right.
The big one. This is obviously because we know how big Crave is in Norway.
Goes without saying.
And now Norway's coming to New Zealand.
Okay.
You remember Aha, don't you?
Oh, I remember Aha. Well, I remember of them. Yes.
Well,
yes.
you remember their one big hit, Take On Me.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Do you remember anything else about them?
No.
No, the reason for that. But they are coming for their first ever New Zealand tour.
Okay.
And they're bringing with them Rick Astley.
Get out. Really?
Yeah, he's never going to give you up.
No.
I can't.
How old would he be now? I wonder. In his 50s or 60s, he must be.
Absolutely.
At least. Anyway, okay. Well, okay. Very good.
Yeah,
so people who are into their pop.
Yes.
Would be the ones who that's going to appeal to.
Yes, and also local bands for support. The Beths.
The Beths.
The Beths.
That's a hard one to say.
It is indeed. But they're going to be supporting both Aha.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we're getting straight into Alan Partridge. Are you familiar with Alan Partridge?
Yes. What was that famous song? The one who's hit one big hit. Well, I mean, probably lots of hits, but there was one particular song. Am I thinking of? No. I'm thinking of. He was the Alan Partridge is the sort of made-up journalist. Isn't
he? Steve Coogan's character. Yes.
Someone else.
Who they did a show with him for a while called "Knowing Me, Knowing You" with Alan Partridge.
Yeah, that's right.
And at the start of every mock interview, he does, "Knowing me, Alan Partridge. Knowing you, Simon Merced."
Okay.
Aha. And unfortunately, as soon as I saw this announcement, oh dear God, that's it. Yeah, he needs to be. They need to be introduced by Alan Partridge. But anyway, so that's coming up very shortly as well. So there's some decent.
It's given that this is kind of the time of the year for us when it's a little slower often with live. With the big acts, tend to come over our summer, obviously.
This is true. Well, that's what the FOMO Festival is obviously getting its announcement right about now.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, cool. The film I'm really excited about is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is coming out very, very shortly.
Yeah, that'll be good.
We've also got Skyscraper Stan is going to be in town next week. We've got Snow Patrol.
Okay.
Irish band who have done some absolutely wonderful light. I mean, if I describe them as like light rock, it makes them sound a bit vaguely insipid and wimpish. But they're going to be at the Altea Centre, ASB Theatre on the 8th of August, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
Okay, cool, good.
So yeah, some good stuff coming out very,
so it's all there on cravepodcast.com. So we had a good old yarn about some movies and some good interviews this week.
Absolutely.
Time for us to go. We'd like to hear from you. Please do get in touch. You can email us on podcast@cravepodcast.com.
That's the one.
It is.
We're on Facebook, obviously, because all the cool kids are. Also on Twitter, we're at Crave Podcast.
Right. So until next time, I'm Simon Merced.
I'm Steve McCabe. And that is what... Oh, sorry, I wasn't expecting it.
I was going to throw it to him.
And that is what has been entertaining us
this week.
Dear Lord, amateurs.